Good morning. Thank you, Diane. It's really a pleasure to be here. I'm actually standing in for our director, Malcolm Dougherty, who was called in to go to governor's office on an event in Sacramento. He sends his apologies and also his regret that he could not be here. He was looking forward to be here and to have a robust discussion on innovation and on technology and some of the innovative things that Caltrans is doing these days. He asked me to talk about the recent storms and give you a report on that and our response to that. Diane, mentioned Highway 37. Highway 37 is an important corridor here in Marin County, and that was one of the highways. I was talking to someone. We look back since 1982, between 1982 and 2016, that facility was closed about 61 days. And since the beginning of the year, and my numbers may be a day or two off, I think we've had it closed for about 31 days. And so that shows the change in the climate, the change in the environment, and the different approaches we need to have in order to address the needs of the communities. And this was a big impact. And Gelati Construction was our partner in that project. Mike Gelati partnered with us in a lot of other projects that we deliver, and I'm thankful for that, and understand that he also is a sponsor for this event, so I appreciate that. And I also thank everyone to be here, those who arranged this, those who sponsored this, and those who also would be speaking. Talking about the storms, just to give you a snapshot, we had at the highest point in Bay Area, the 9 Bay Area counties, 8 major freeways that were closed. And right now, with the opening of Highway 37 yesterday, we have 5 closures. We have 2 connectors that are closed. We do have 2 ferry service. We are in the ferry service business. That because of the high water level, they can't dock, so they're closed in the Delta area. We have already issued about 22 director's orders. Those are emergency contracts that we issue at the cost of about $50 million. We have 5 that are in process of getting issued at about $23 million. And we have 9 other ones that we don't have an estimate of. We have some major damages, major closures. Highway 35 in Santa Clara County, we lost the entire road. We actually used some technology connected to this discussion, a drone system with LiDAR to actually do the mapping for us so we can actually put that road back together, and that operation was done by our consultant, so we'll be taking advantage of that. We do have statewide, I think the numbers are reaching $400 million damage of our facility. So certainly the nature is testing our aging infrastructure and are testing also our challenges with funding. There is a robust discussion with respect to funding and the funding challenges that we have. The governor and the administration have a proposal in Sacramento that is being discussed. The Senate has Senate Bill 1, a transportation package, and the Assembly Bill 1 also is a transportation package that all look at funding the shortfall that we have in our maintenance, in our operation, and just in our keeping our roads together. Just to give you a sense of the shortfall statewide on an annual basis, just for the state highways, our maintenance and rehabilitation is short by about $5.7 billion. We only have 27% of what we need in order to address, so there is a lot of deferred maintenance. And that also works itself into some of the technology work that we do and how we need to keep those technology operating. It is one thing to deploy technology out in the system. It is another to keep them up, keep them working, because if they're not working, we're not getting the information, we're not getting the benefit of that. We're also looking at other options with respect to transportation. Road charges is one that we're piloting. It started last year with legislation. The report back to the legislature is due by June of this year. So we'll see how that works. I'm actually part of the pilot. I'm using that, and we'll see how the end result of that would be. On the innovation front, even today with all of the ongoing innovation and the disruptive startups that we see every day happening in the field of transportation, introduction of the shared mobility and mobility as a service, we still face a challenge with some decision and some policymakers, with those who allocate funds on projects that are ITS projects that are being viewed as R&D and not so much something for the future, not so much something that we can actually use today. And we can deploy these things actually today. Here in Bay Area, we think the future is actually now. And it is not an R&D. It is something that we are deploying. It is something that it is already helping us. We're embracing the technology sector that's coming up with innovative approaches of providing mobility for our customers, and we want to be part of that. So one of the things is the benefit, the return on the investment on the technology side in transportation is much, much greater than the traditional just building of highways. I think our highway system is fairly mature. We still have some gaps that we need to close. We still have some areas that we need to build. But in general, we cannot build ourselves out of congestion, and using technology to harness a greater capacity in our facility that we already have provide us with much greater return on the investment. Innovation is one of 4 Caltrans values, and we give that a high priority. We're putting ITS technology to work to address many mobility issues that we face in congestion management, in incident response, with our express lanes network, our smart corridors, the projects that we deployed in San Mateo County and on the other side of the bay in Alameda and Contra Costa, with partnership with Alameda CTC and the Contra Costa Transportation Authority, and also with MTC on Interstate 80. The Interstate 80 ICM is one of the robust technology used facility, and it's a project that with a relatively small investment of about 80 million, what we're getting out of that corridor is tremendous, and you can't compare that if we were to go in and add an additional lane and with the cost of that sort of an approach and that kind of a project. So we are embracing technology, we are deploying it, we think that the future is now, and we want to continue on partnering with the new technology and those who provide that to make sure that we're providing the best service to the traveling public. Although government in general is slow in adapting and keeping pace with the private sector's fast-changing technology, specifically in this area and this issue of technology itself, we're not really looking for the proof of concept anymore. The regulations are falling way behind the technology itself. The regulation that governs the deployment of autonomous vehicles and the realistic legal framework that we need to have for a safe and successful autonomous and connected vehicle implementation. Those regulations are coming in, and the public sector is somewhat slow in catching up with what the private sector and what the technology can actually do. So we're kind of holding them back, I guess, in a sense, so that those rules and regulations can actually come together. I should say that Caltrans has been using technology for a long time. California opened its first traffic management center in the early 70s. The first self-driving car test was done in the mid-90s. To one of the most sophisticated smart corridor that we have, as I mentioned, on Interstate 80 that we opened last year. In 2004, in partnership with MTC, we built the first public connected vehicle testbed on El Camino Real on State Route 82, a signalized arterial that serves about 60,000 vehicles a day. It was a $3 million investment, equipped 11 intersections to test connected vehicle safety and mobility applications in real-world environment. It is still ongoing. There are still companies that are testing that, and we've been part of that for quite some time. 2 areas in California recently was selected as the autonomous vehicle proving ground, the Go Montem Station, and which is in Contra Costa, and also one in San Diego. And I know Randy Iwasaki is on the agenda, and he'll be talking about the details of that. So I won't go into any details with respect to that. There are legislations for testing of the 5 autonomy at the Bishop Ranch in Contra Costa also. 22 companies have permits to test those. Those are the permits that are issued by DMV for testing of that technology. And Caltrans has also interacted and been involved with Google, Tesla, with other companies to find out what they need from our infrastructure as they're doing their work, and where are some of the areas that we can partner. Caltrans has also partnered with Waze to provide as accurate of traveler information as possible in a commercial package. Future action that needs to be taken to accelerate the adaptation of the autonomous vehicle, such as the standardization, mostly in connected vehicle technology. Again, regulatory environment to enable the continued development is also the issue of the security and the issue of insurance, the privacy. All of those need to be addressed. At the national level, Caltrans is involved in the National Deployment Coalition of a public-private partnership. Malcolm was at the leadership of the ITS and worked very closely with them on a number of national issues. Also, there are plans for integrated corridor management system type projects similar to the I-80, also on the 210, on the 110, and on SR 57. We're also working with US DOT and the Federal Highway Administration on research work on truck platooning. That was actually showcased at the last ITS event in San Jose last year. And one of the things with the public sector is how do we change the culture of the employees of a public sector to be able to participate, to be able to embrace, to be able to take risk, to be able to accept and be innovative in what they do. One of the things that we're doing, we're in the 24th month of lean program deployment in Caltrans. To date, 29 process improvements have been delivered, realizing significant time saving. When we talk about time saving, private sector comes to us, they want to partner with us. We tell them it's going to take us 9 months to sign a contract. Well, that technology by that time is probably old. So going through the process and figuring out how better can we, in a timely manner, partner with the private sector, contract with them, simple things, just a contract, is an important thing. So we are going through a Lean Six Sigma process review of a number of the processes that we have to make sure that we can be a good partner with the private sector. Last year, Caltrans deployed a crowdsourcing website. You just saw an example of that for our own employees, to interactively discuss and identify actionable, innovative ideas. We had campaigns around the state on that to find out what are some of the things that we can improve internally, what are some of the things that we can implement in a short period of time. Here in District 4, in the Bay Area, we're leading the way with respect to innovation. We actually have a biannual innovation fair where we have all of our divisions showcase some of the innovative things that they are doing in their processes, in their use of technology, in their partnering. And that has now become a requirement for all of the districts to actually have that innovation fair. So every district will have that. Here in Bay Area, in District 4, we do have an innovation room, an I room. where we interact with other districts. And not only video conferencing, but sharing data and sharing design real time. Right now, we are in this district working in a number of other districts' work. We're working in District 1, 2, and 3 in the North region. We're working in Fresno in District 6. We're working in District 5 in San Luis Obispo. We're working in San Bernardino, and we're also delivering projects in Los Angeles in District 7. In order to effectively do that, the iRoom is where all of that conversation actually takes place, where all of the plans come together, where all of the disciplines come into one room and be able to interact real time to solve the problem, to be able to reduce our travel, to reduce errors with respect to communication of what needs to happen in each one of those projects. California is also committed to zero-emission vehicles. We're purchasing all-electric and hydrogen fuel cell vehicles now. And so we're doing our part. And under the governor's zero-emission vehicle, the ZEF program, we have an action plan. We're committed to installing electric charging stations for all of our fleets, for 30 locations for public by end of 2018. We're also looking at doing hydrogen fuel charger stations in some of our facilities. There's a lot more that we are doing here, but I would say if anything is happening, it's happening in California, and if it's happening in California, it's happening here in the heart of Silicon Valley in Bay Area. I see that you have a great agenda. Unfortunately, I will not be able to be here to participate in that, but I want to thank everyone for giving me a few minutes to talk about some of the things that the department is doing, and I look forward for any questions that you have. Thank you.